I'm Moshe.
And I'm Polly.
And this is The Human Collective. Welcome back. This is episode 10. Milestone for the show. Yeah.
We made it.
We made it. There's some statistic that says something like 70%, 75% of all podcasts fail at episode 10. So we made it. And to help us bring in episode 10, I have a really good friend of mine, someone I've known for a long time, since before high school, possibly middle school. I don't know. I'm old now, so like thinking that far back is really tough.
Well, what year did you guys meet?
It was in the 90s. I'm going to say it was definitely in the mid 90s, something like that.
Oh, wow. You guys go a long way back.
Yep. And he's coming live from Switzerland, outside of Geneva or in Geneva. He can tell us when he comes on. Loe Cuarto, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, my friend. And thank you for staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning to help air this show at 7 p.m. Eastern. I know that's not easy.
No, I'm used to it.
Loe said this is normally his Netflix hours, so we're interfering with his. What's your shows on
watching?
Netflix? Yeah.
Are you binging on something?
Money Heist.
Money Talks?
Money Talks?
Money Heist.
Oh,
Heist.
Money Heist.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that a TV show or is that a movie?
I don't know. I think it's like a TV show, but
It's a series, right?
exclusive to Netflix.
I got you. I just finished Hyperdrive, which is like a car. It's a car show where they build these crazy. If you've ever seen like Ken Block's, what the hell are they called? Gymkhana, where he builds these really wild sets on like these old industrial warehousey kind of desolate areas. They turn them into these drift tracks. And then, so anyway, there's a show, Hyperdrive, where they take like the best amateur drivers. They build their own drift cars.
Though. They're not really amateurs.
Yeah, they might as well be
drive
professionals.
is really good. They've been doing it for years.
Yeah, they're doing some really wild shit with these cars. So if you haven't seen Hyperdrive, I know you like cars. You'll really enjoy that show.
You're gonna be binging on that.
Yeah, I haven't seen Money Heist.
That might be the next show.
And it's a contest. Like it's a competition.
Yeah.
It's only one season up so far.
It's one season. Yeah, I binged on that. That's the problem with Netflix.
That's the best thing about Netflix.
Yeah, is that you don't have to wait for the next episode.
You can just binge it. Get it out of your system, and then you can go on with your life.
Yeah, but then once you're done binging, then you got to look down at like your gut just covered in like peanut butter and like chicken wing grease, and you're like, "Fuck! What did I just do with my life for the past 12 hours?" We're all guilty.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let me just kind of preface this a little bit. Loe is currently living in Switzerland. He's originally from the same town Polly and I are from, Philadelphia. Polly's also from the Oxford Circle, by the way. She grew up.
Is that where you lived when you were in Philly?
Yeah, but she grew up on the other side of the boulevard. She's like where she's
the Frankfurt side.
Yeah, but no. Would you call it the Frankfurt side? It's more like the Castor.
Well, technically, Frankfurt is on our side.
Yeah, but she's like a private school kid. She's different.
But yeah, the Frankfurt side. That sounds cooler than Northwood. I grew up in Northwood. Do you know where that is?
No.
All right. So you know how if you know the McDonald's right at the Oxford Circle? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Okay, where Checkers is.
Where Checkers is, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you
on
go
the other side.
Yeah.
Checkers is on the wrong side though.
It's Checkers is on the same side as Castor, which is your side. So if you go southbound on Castor down that way.
Castor's on the wrong side.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. No. Castor continues.
No, Checkers is on the wrong side. I'm in Checkers. It's on the wrong side of the boulevard because there's Checkers and there's like a church.
No, Checkers is on the other side.
Yeah.
Checkers.
Really?
No, Lowe's right. All the way from Switzerland. He's still right.
No, I think I'm right.
The only reason I know is because I used to live on Cheltenham.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yep.
I'm on the side of McDonald's. On the other side of McDonald's is a pizzeria or something. Checkers is on the other side. It's near the Wonder Bread thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It's across from the Wonder Bread.
No, that's Oxford Avenue.
No.
That's Oxford Circle.
We're getting into an Oxford Circle debate right now.
I
promise.
Wonder Bread's on the other side of the circle.
Whatever.
Yeah, Wonder Bread's.
I know where I grew up.
No, Wonder Bread is on Oxford.
But still in the circle. It's all in the same circle.
It's not in the circle. Like, so Checkers is on the other side of the boulevard. If you're going northbound on the boulevard, if you're going north, like toward Cotman Avenue, Checkers will be on your right-hand side.
Correct.
Yes. 100%.
If you're going north.
We're talking about 23 years.
North, you'll see McDonald's.
Wait, where's
then
McDonald's?
Checkers,
Is McDonald's on
then
your
the
left?
Sunoco.
The only McDonald's in Philly that doesn't have a drive-through, by the way. I always hated that about that Mickey D's. Like, they had the playground, but they had no drive-through.
Lo, do you know it closed down? It's not.
Oh.
It's not.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not working anymore.
That McDonald's was
It's like
fucked
boarded
up.
up. It's all boarded up.
Real quick,
It's
just
vacant.
just like a little hooligan story. When I was a kid, me and 3 of my friends went. You know that little overpass on the Roosevelt Boulevard there when you go when you're crossing. So we were throwing shit off of that bridge.
What? Hold on.
See,
What
you
kid
got
from
nothing better to
Northeast
do.
didn't do that?
Huh? Yeah, exactly.
We all did that.
We all did that.
that.
So we're throwing shit over the thing. I don't know rocks or soda cans or whatever. And then we went to McDonald's, just like giggling, laughing about all this bullshit we just did, and almost caused a car accident. And some truck driver came into Mickey D's flipping out, like, some fucking kids just threw something and cracked the windshield on my truck. And we were like hiding behind the bathroom door. Nothing happened, but every time I go in that McDonald's, I think about that.
I did that. I did that on a Cotman in the Boulevard. At that overpass.
Yeah, that McDonald's.
Yeah. That's a fucking.
You
That's
could break
like
some-
heavy traffic right there.
Guys have boys have nothing to do, huh? Getting into trouble.
Yep. Boys will be boys. That's what we do. We get in trouble.
I never even thought about doing anything like that.
Because you're a girl. And you went to private school.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving on. So, where were you growing up? Was it Oxford Circle too?
No, I grew up by Solace Cohen, that elementary school on Bustleton.
Did you go to South Cone?
That's where I grew up. Yeah.
You went to South Cone with Darren?
I was older than Darren.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
I went to South.
Go ahead.
But the funny thing is, one of my first friends that I remember is actually Griff.
Oh, really? He has yet to come on the show. He came
Yeah,
on
'cause-
I had a podcast before this show, and I hadn't spoke to him in, I don't know, a few years because we had a falling out over some stupid shit. So I said, listen, why don't we air all this out? But why don't we do it on my podcast? And I had him come on, and for an hour I had to listen to him just slaughter me.
It was brutal. I heard that
It
one.
was pretty brutal. But that's what he's good for, man. He'll let you know exactly how he feels. He's a good dude. Shout out to Pat Griff, who's probably not listening to the show, but if he is, what up?
Can you pull up YouTube
Can I pull up YouTube for what?
to see it? Can you?
What to see what? DNAP?
No, just to see YouTube. Can you pull this up?
Oh, I have OBS running, so I can see everything that's going on.
All right.
Why is there? Talking about the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Lo, you grew up around Solace Cohen, which that's still technically the Northeast.
Yeah.
And did
Do
you
you
go
have
to?
siblings? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you have siblings?
Do I have siblings?
Yeah, do you have siblings? Brothers, sisters?
Yeah, I have one. I have one younger sister.
Oh, okay. You guys close in age?
Yeah. I'm 7 years older.
Oh, you're 7 years older. Oh, wow. So that's a pretty big gap.
So Lance Sugarman joined into the chat and just wants to remind you that he beat you in basketball at Solace Cohen back in the day. If you forgot, he just wanted to remind you of that.
It's possible. It's possible.
Anything's
We were in
possible.
third grade.
Was it a made-up memory?
Well, nowadays you need video proof of that. So Lance, unless you can come up with some HD footage of that, didn't happen, my friend.
All right.
It'll be on video.
So your sister and you grew up in Philly. You both were here together.
Yep.
Any cousins
Yeah, I have a few cousins
in Philly?
that are still in Philly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what made your family move here from Switzerland?
Yeah, let's get into that a little
Man.
bit. Like, you're 4 years old. You're born in Switzerland. How do you get here? What happens?
And it's weird because I really don't remember.
Because you were 4.
But I mean, from what I was told,
Right.
like, my family, of course, they chased that American dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the land of opportunity. So they went. I was 4 years old. They ended up staying, and it's a funny story, especially because of like what's happening now in the States.
Okay.
Because when they got there, my parents actually were in the process, like, you know, all their paperwork to be citizens and all that. But the crazy part was they never fixed my paperwork.
Oh, goodness.
So, are you saying that you were never technically a citizen?
So you weren't legal?
I wasn't. I mean, for the time that I was young,
Yeah.
I remember them saying like, you know, this had to be done, but they never got it done.
So, did you have a
And then
social
as I got
security
older-
number?
What's that?
Did you have a social security number?
I did have a social security number.
Yeah, so you're good.
I did.
I think
Yeah.
I think as long as you have a
But it was-
social,
Yeah, then you should be fine.
yeah.
So what did they not do?
Yeah, no, I had a social, but like I wasn't like, because I think like I don't know if it was like my green card or my visa, whatever it was, because I was so young,
Yeah.
but it like expired, and technically
Yeah, you got to renew
I
it
would
like
have
every 10 years or something.
I would have been considered like overstayed or something crazy like that.
Yeah. Was there any point in life where that became a problem or that came up?
Oh my God,
It's when you want to travel,
that
right?
was always a problem, because one reason that was like why I never traveled.
Yeah, it's a problem when you're traveling. That happened with my dad because he has a green card.
Two, it was like, it was like so hard, like, because I mean, you know, you just mentioned it when we started. You were a kid throwing rocks over the overpass.
Yeah.
Me, growing up, you know, like, I was a knucklehead too.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the knucklehead that would disappear as soon as cops showed up.
Yeah. And
Smart.
was that
You're a smart knucklehead.
okay? So was that always because in the back of your mind you were thinking,
I better not get caught.
yeah?
It was funny because my parents used to tell me when I was a kid, they were like, I don't know what you do outside this house, but if you get arrested, do not waste your phone call on us.
Oh, gosh.
They're like, because
We're not coming.
if you get in trouble,
It's on you.
you're going to get this whole family in trouble.
Yeah.
So
They're like, you're on
that
your own.
was always in the back of my head, like, oh my God, if I get caught, who am I going to call?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't call mom and dad. So just make sure when I heard sirens or saw lights, I was gone. But yeah, it's like that subject was always like funny to me, especially like later in life.
Yeah. Okay. So
Especially like,
how's this as a question? Looking back, being that you are now later in life, we're both in our 30s. We won't say whether that's early or late 30s. Both in our 30s. Like, when you look back at adolescence, you know, teenage years, formative years, whatever, can you think of a moment that in your head that stands out more than any?
in terms of
Just sort of like that shaped you.
I mean, living in Philly, that's what shaped me. That's what made me.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know, like when I was, I mean, you were with me when I was 22. I moved to Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You moved
Being in
to
a
Vegas?
different place, like I felt like I was cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, for sure. And that West Coast thing, that sort of, so Loe moved to Vegas in his early 20s. I myself and a friend helped him get there. And how long did you live in Vegas? How many years were you there?
6 years.
6 years.
Oh, doing what? What did you do in Vegas?
And that was like I don't want to say like a dark memory.
Oh, it's a
You
dark
know what I
time
mean?
in your life?
Like a dark part of my life because working was like hard
Mm-hmm.
for me. So like jumping from like job to job, like even like struggled to the point where I had to come back home for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
come back to Philly. Then I went back out to Vegas, and then I did all right. I was working in a hospital.
What made you decide to move to Vegas?
Uh-oh.
She
Uh-oh. I kind of know the answer to this one.
brought up this.
She brought that up. I didn't.
Wait, was that something we were supposed to avoid?
Hmm.
I didn't get the memo.
Hold
I'm
on,
sorry.
like,
I stepped out.
There was no memo.
I moved to Vegas for a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, what's so wrong about that? A lot of people do a lot of things for girls.
That's true.
It's not the one you're married to now.
And you were
Is that why we're not
young,
talking
man.
about it?
You were young. You know, you were
Yeah.
22, 23 years old. You were a kid.
Is it your wife now or no?
Yeah.
Someone else?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Moving right along.
It's all right.
No.
Wait, so tell me about getting out there. Like, how did you get there? You
Man.
guys came together? That was like a...
So when I so I went to Vegas. I was there for almost like a half a year, and then I had like that was like my failure. I had to come back home, tell the parents that they were right,
Yeah.
and I had to get my act together.
Oh, man, that's the
And
worst.
then-
Coming back.
And then I decided that I'm going to move back to Vegas, but this time I was going to do it the right way, and I was going to bring my car with me. And the funny part of that story was I was at a friend's house. Bill showed up, and it was it had to be like a Monday, because I said I was moving to Vegas and I was driving. And my boy said, "Oh, I'll go with you." And then we looked at Bill and said, "Do you want to go?" And Bill at the time was really like he just started, I think, in like photography.
Yeah.
And Bill said, "I would love to go and see and drive cross country."
Mm-hmm.
So we made that decision on the spot because they were like, "Who are you going to go with?" I was like, "I was going to drive alone." And they were like, "You can't do that."
That's good.
So then we
right
went
there.
to Bill's house, pulled it up on MapQuest,
Mm-hmm.
printed out the
MapQuest.
directions.
Remember that? MapQuest.
Yeah, and it was something like 23 hours, I think, was the estimated time it would take to get to Vegas. Vegas is essentially almost the exact opposite side of the country. It's just about short of 3,000 miles, something like that. Funny thing about that story that you made me think of when you brought that up was one of the stops that I really wanted to make was the Grand Canyon, and we never ended up.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Yeah, we never ended up making it there on that trip. And then
The funny thing is, I remember that like it was yesterday.
yeah, and you know what the crazy thing is about the Grand Canyon is I didn't actually make it there. I had traveled a lot to different parts of the world, but didn't make it to the Grand Canyon until I was 35, when my father died. And he, right before he died, we were talking about this before the podcast. We were kind of just like playing a little game of catch up. And I was saying that I was living in Australia when my father died 2 years ago. And when right before I left to leave the country, the U.S., he told me that when he died, he wanted his ashes scattered at the Grand Canyon. And like when I made that trip out there, that was its own journey. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, in my 20s, the Grand Canyon sounded so cool. It didn't seem like this touristy, cheesy destination. And then I actually got there and I was like, you know what? Fuck. This is not cheesy. Like, this is not touristy. When you get there, I think it's one of the 7 wonders of the world, right?
It's beautiful. It's breathtaking.
It hits
really is.
you, and it's like, it makes you realize how small and finite things are. And I was like, wow, had I seen this in my 20s, I don't think, with you, Lo, I don't think it would have affected me the same way it did when I was much older. So,
Oh yeah. Wow.
So
Especially
I think it would still have
the way it
affected me,
happened.
though. It wasn't. It's
no,
not-
like, yeah, but like he's saying, like the way it played out and the way it happened,
Yeah.
I feel like there was something to that had a meaning.
Wait, so what happened? How come you guys never went?
I don't know. It was
'Cause
just logistics.
I remember
Oh, he
like it was
remembers.
yesterday.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
let's hear the
Go ahead.
story.
We were driving in Arizona. I think it was like Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw like the highway sign. It said 312 miles was Vegas if you went right. 316 miles Grand Canyon if you went left.
This is a crossroads.
And you have to imagine, I used to drive a coupe, a Honda 2002
Yeah.
Accord.
And 3 dudes
So-
who are all
So you know
200 plus
you know
pounds.
how tall Bill is.
Yeah, 6'6",
I'm
6'4".
I'm just a little under Bill,
Yeah,
and then our other boy had to be like 5'11"
yeah, but he's a big guy.
in that car, but he's a big guy.
Yep.
And we were in that car the whole way across the country. That was to the point where like we couldn't stand each other.
Yeah, especially our one
Oh.
friend was dipping tobacco chew the whole ride, and just
Oh
the
my
smell of
God.
that. After 2,000 miles, the smell of tobacco chew gets really tired really
Oh.
quick. You're just like, fuck, if he dips one more peach skull thing again, I'm going to shoot myself.
Wait,
Yeah.
how long did it take you guys?
Bottles all over the place.
Yeah,
The
what
whole
did it
thing?
take us? Maybe 3-4 days, something like that?
In a small
I remember
car? I can
we
see how that
left
could
on a
get
Wednesday
annoying.
night,
Yeah, okay.
and we were there Saturday morning.
Wednesday, Thursday. So yeah, about 3.5 days.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
So Bill was the photographer who had to see the Grand Canyon.
Hmm.
And when that split on the road came, me and my other friend looked at each other, and I was going driving.
Yeah.
That's
It's
why
gonna be
this,
an
that's why this
executive
story goes this way. I was driving, and Bill's like, the Grand Canyon. And me and my friend looked at each other, and we were like, you know what? Fuck Bill and his Grand Canyon. We're going 312 miles to Vegas.
You know,
Bill was pissed.
I think
He was pissed.
yo, but
Couldn't
but
imagine, 'cause that's
the
where you came.
yeah, but listen, the way that trip, this is what's crazy about things happening for a reason. If that trip didn't happen the way it did, I never would have moved to the West Coast myself, because after we parted ways with you when we got you to Vegas, I went to Los Angeles and I met my uncle, who I had never met before in my life. My mother's brother. Never met him before in my life. I knew of him. I knew he was, successful and whatever. So I wanted to meet him, and I flew out to LA and I met him, and we kind of hit it off. We became friends. And then a couple years later, I ended up working for him. I ended up helping build his business in Los Angeles, which is crazy. So had I not done that trip with you, that wouldn't have happened. And then that wouldn't have led to my stint on the West Coast for, wasn't 7 years, like probably about the same amount of time, about 6 years, So
Yeah.
that's just a trip, how things work out, It's like, I guess the older I get, the more I realize that everything does happen for a reason, and there's a series of events that seem to play out, and that's just like the story of your life. The way
Yeah.
things play out is your life, but it's like, is it predetermined or is it just random? That I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. But for whatever reason, I'm sitting here now doing a podcast in Ambler, PA, and you're in Switzerland, my friend.
This was meant to happen.
No.
And things kind of all came full circle, because here we are again.
All right,
Yeah.
Yes.
So 6 years in Vegas.
Yeah, so 6 years in Vegas, and then you come back to Philly. Now, you said you came back home because you felt like you maybe weren't making the right decisions or whatever. Things weren't working out as well as you thought they would. You went back out to Vegas.
For the girl, same girl?
Hmm.
Or just because you wanted
Yeah.
to make it now?
Yeah, same girl? Okay.
No, it was the same.
So you take another stab at it. You do it different. You make smarter decisions. Things are
You work in
working
the
out.
hospital?
Working
what
in
did
the
you do in
hospital.
the hospital?
I was working as a patient attendant.
Okay.
So I was just like, basically like security for patients
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
that, were a little unstable.
Okay.
And
So that was my job. And I mean, it was cool.
Right.
And then I also worked in a hotel. And I worked at the Hampton Inn. Like that was the last job that I had. Like I was the auditor, the night auditor.
What is
And
what does a night auditor do?
like they handle like all the receipts for like, like the like hotels, like when you stay in a hotel and they print out your receipt when you're checking out in the morning.
Right.
They made sure all the money that throughout the day was right. So it was a lot of work,
Mm-hmm.
but it was easy because it was night and it was just me there.
Okay.
So it was pretty cool.
did you ever work in a casino?
No,
That's
didn't
that's
want to.
kind of interesting that you lived in Vegas for so long and never touched on the casino.
What about a strip club?
No, that wasn't until Philly.
That was until Philly? Okay.
Yeah.
Am I jumping ahead or did I miss that already?
So what?
No, that was later.
Okay.
So what were the
Look at there.
what brought you back to Philadelphia from Vegas? The second time.
Man, I remember getting a phone call from my sister and my dad. They were telling me to come home because my mom had a heart attack and then a stroke,
I'm sorry.
and she was down. Had to be like 15 months that she was just bedridden.
Yeah.
And then I remember April 24th, I got that phone call, and they wouldn't tell me what happened. All my dad kept telling me was, you need to come home. Your mom's not doing so well. And I just came back to Vegas visiting Philly at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, like, I can't keep coming back and forth.
And your mom was good when you came to visit?
Well, no, she was still bedridden. She was bedridden.
So she had already had the stroke?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I went out to visit them, and then I came back to Vegas because I had to work.
Yeah.
And then that's when I got the call, and I told him, like, I can't keep coming back and forth. And my dad would not tell me. He just kept saying, like, you need to come home. You need to come home.
Yeah.
And then my sister, she called me, and she was like, you need to come home. And I said, like, what's going on? Like, and then she just, like, yelled at me, like, Mom's dead. Like, Mom passed away.
So they didn't want to tell you that she had passed until you got
Yeah,
home.
because
Yeah, they don't want
because they know I was going to lose it.
Yeah. I
You know,
so
like,
tough.
for me, that's always been something that, like, has always bothered me. Like, I always felt guilty that, like,
You were
I wasn't there.
Yeah. I
How
get
old
it.
were you?
I was 29, maybe 28.
Yeah.
That's really tough.
So,
Your family
so to
didn't
me, that
blame you for not being there, right?
no.
It was just you being hard
But
on yourself.
I always blamed myself, like, because I was in Vegas. Like,
Yeah.
I should have been home.
Yeah.
But you came back and forth a couple times, right?
Yeah,
She
I
was
did.
sick.
I did come back.
Yeah. So
You
you
know,
can't be
back
too
and
hard on
forth,
yourself.
I mean, to lose your parent and you're not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
It's
tough.
it's a weird feeling. I can relate to that in two ways because I lost my grandmother when I was living in LA. My brother did the same thing. He didn't want to tell me that my grandmother basically raised me with my mom. She was basically like my second mother. And he didn't want to tell me that she died until I got home. So it's funny. Your story is so similar for me, like, and but they waited. And when I got home, when I got back to Philly, I got in the car, and then my brother and my father, who was still alive, told me, that she had already passed. And then we went straight to the morgue, because in the Jewish faith, we bury the dead very quick. It's like next day, man. There's no waiting time.
Mm-hmm.
And then also when I lived in Australia in 2017, I got a phone call from my mom. It's a weird story. I was driving. We were coming back up north from like the 12 Apostles, which is like the southernmost point of Australia. And I got a call from my mom on the cell phone, and like the service was really shit. And I couldn't make out what she was saying. She was saying something over and over again on the phone, but the connection was really weak and I couldn't hear what she was saying. And then when it became clear, she said, your dad died. And I remember I overreacted. I felt like I overreacted. Looking back on it, I slammed the brakes in this piece of shit van that I was driving. I pulled off on the side of the road. And then my brother was in another van behind me. We were both traveling together. And then I flagged him down and I told him right on the side of this road. It was like really fucking windy that day. And I had that same feeling of guilt that you just talked about, where it's like you feel like you should have been there. And
Yeah.
And you there's no, you can't change that. It's already happened. And now you got to go the fuck home and face the music. Yeah, now you got to now there's all this stuff. There's all these things that are just going to happen. There's this, and that's just part of being an adult, and not just being a man, but being a son and all that kind of stuff. It's really hard. Like you said, losing a parent is really, it's weird, and you can't really explain it to people unless they've been through it. Whether you're close with that parent or not, I don't think that matters.
Yeah. It's crazy because, like you said, things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And then I remember that like the very next day, I got like a phone call or a message from Facebook. And it was a girl that I grew up with here in Switzerland. Like her parents were my parents, was like best friends.
Yeah.
Like we were best friends since we were like little kids, like babies.
Okay.
And she messaged me to give her condolence. And the funny part is, she is now my wife.
So, congratulations, by the way. So, how did that play out? So, you two had obviously known each other since you were 3-4 years old, or earlier than that.
Yeah.
And then she gets word that your mom passed, and then just reaches out to you to say, to console you for losing your mother. And then you guys end up rekindling something, or what? Was there ever something, or was this new? What, how did that?
I mean, when the stuff that I remember from here, from being a little kid, I remember her family.
Yeah.
And I remember her, of course, because that was like my best friend. Like that was like my little girlfriend when I was here.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like always together.
When you were 5.
I was like even younger.
Yeah.
Even younger than that. And it was just funny because she messaged me and we just started talking on Facebook. This was around the time when everybody had a BlackBerry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
So
Could actually type.
I remember. Yeah.
That argument lasted for a while, but you can type on this. It actually has buttons you can type on. Yeah, I get it. Okay, it's got buttons.
So I remember I put a post on Facebook. I said, I got a new BlackBerry. Everybody send me your PIN. And she messaged me and said, I don't know if it'll work, but I'm in Switzerland. But here's my PIN, because I have a BlackBerry.
Uh-huh.
And we talked. And that's how it all started.
So, okay, so what happens from there? You guys start chatting.
We started talking.
Uh-huh.
And then I remember, I guess, the question, what if I never left? What if I never left Switzerland? Or You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
she was like, I don't know, maybe we would have ended up together or something like that
She said that
at
before
some
you
point in
did?
time. Yeah, she's like, maybe we definitely would have ended up together at some point,
Right.
and that pretty much did it.
Wait, so
Mm.
so then that's when you moved to Switzerland?
Well,
No,
I mean, there must have been
that
some.
process
You're like,
was
all
not
right.
easy. That process was not easy.
Yeah. How did all that unfold? So we're talking about how many years ago was it that you lost your mom?
That was 10 years ago.
Okay, so 10 years, and now you've been in Switzerland for what? Half a year?
In Switzerland,
Yeah.
like a month and like 5 days.
Okay, so a month and 5 days before that. We'll get into this too, but you spent just a year, exactly a year, in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But there's 10 years between that. There's 9 years between
Yeah.
that. So what happens in those 9 years?
Well-
Is it a long distance relationship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like earlier, Polly asked, like, was it an issue for me with like, like with what my parents didn't fix with like my paperwork?
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest hassle ever because of that. Like I couldn't leave. I could never like come and visit her here.
Oh.
So when we started dating, it would be like once, maybe twice a year she would come
Yeah.
to Philly.
Oh, okay. So she would come
And
to
this
Philly
went
and
on.
visit.
Because you couldn't leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't leave.
Right.
And then,
Could you not leave, or were you worried about leaving and not being able to come back?
no, like I knew that if I left, I wouldn't be able to come back.
Well, how's that work now? Not to jump forward in the story, but can you come back?
You're
Well,
gone for good.
it's weird because since I was born here, Switzerland's not like the United States where if you're born here, you're automatic citizen.
Okay.
I had to be here, I think, until the age of 12 to get my citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I left at 5. And then when I ended up overstaying in the United States, so technically I wasn't a citizen there either, I was like a kid with like no country.
Wow.
So
Almost sounds like a movie. Sounds like a
Kid with no
Netflix
country.
series I want to binge watch. A Kid with No Country. That should be the title of this show.
Uh-oh.
yeah, so
Yeah, a little
I
bit.
was like, my citizenship was the Philippines. That's because of my parents
Wait, so
at
you...
the time.
Oh, is that why you went to the Philippines first?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Finally, once all my paperwork was for me to leave was done, it was Philippines first.
So, as
And
it
I would
stands
have to
right
leave from
now,
there.
what is your country of citizenship? The Philippines?
So as of right now, it's the Philippines, and I'm working on like they're starting the process it now for Switzerland.
That's crazy. Because you didn't spend any of
Any
your
time in the
childhood
Philippines.
in the fucking Philippines.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
So
wild.
like
So
at the time when they used to say like, oh, like deport and all this craziness,
Yeah.
I used to say like, where the fuck would I get deported? The Philippines? Like, I've never been there. I've never been there. You're sending me to a country that I've never been to.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of crazy. That's a crazy story. So when you go back to the Philippines, or when you go to the Philippines really for the first time, and you say, I have no true country of origin, I have a social security number from the U.S., I was born in Switzerland, I've never been here, my parents are from here, they live in the U.S. now,
And they
what
were
can
just
you?
like,
Yeah, what can you do? And they just welcomed you with open arms, like,
"Oh,
hey,
son."
welcome home. Because that's how Israel
No,
is to the Jews. Israel's like, welcome home. It's like when you go to
the
Hawaii,
funny
they
thing
lay
was,
you. Sorry, go
the
ahead.
funny thing was that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
When I got to the airport in the Philippines, they were like, your passport? And I showed it to them. And they were like, welcome. Like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Wait, so you
And
had
I was
a
like,
U.S.
surprised.
passport or Philippine passport?
I had a Philippine passport. Yeah. I had a Philippine passport.
Okay.
So they were just like, go ahead, you're good.
Wow.
And I was just like, holy shit, like I'm here.
And it was your first time coming, and this
First
is your
time.
country. That's amazing.
First time in the country.
So when you got the Filipino passport, what picture was on it? Was it a picture you took in the U.S.?
Yeah, it had to have been, right?
Yeah, I took it in the U.S. because I had to renew my passport. The original picture on my passport, I was probably like 3 years old.
Yeah.
So like when they're like, I was like, oh, I'm renewing my passport. I had to go to Washington D.C. for it,
Uh-huh.
and like Kev came with me,
Okay.
and then I went there. They were like, you gotta take your picture. We need your original passport. And I showed it to them, and the lady looked at me like, are you serious? Like, you didn't renew your passport? And this is like, she was holding it like, this is your picture? Like,
How can we prove this is you? This is just any child.
I'm like, yeah, I still have the same features. Like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, look at that smile. You can't deny that smile.
They were like, oh man. They were like, oh, yeah, I guess we have to renew your passport. So once it was renewed, I was good to go.
Wow.
That's awesome. So how long were you in the Philippines for?
I spent 1 year.
Okay, one.
in the Philippines.
So what was your first reaction to being in the Philippines for the first time as a citizen? But for the first time, like a kid that basically, like, you know, you were 4 years old when you came to the U.S., but I mean, like you said, Philly was your home. Philly sculpted you. Philly shaped you. The U.S. shaped you. The East Coast, that whole vibe. And then you get to the Philippines, this like kind of culture shock thing happens. What was that like?
That was a culture shock.
Yeah.
Because I came there, like the way I was dressed, like everything.
Do you speak the language?
Yeah, I do
That's
speak
good.
it because my parents taught me since I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
Did you have an American accent?
The funny thing was, people in the Philippines were like very surprised. Like if they heard, like they were surprised, like you can speak the language and it's your first time here. Like you're not born here. I'm like, no, but
So they
I
were
can speak the
impressed by
language.
you.
Yeah. I always said that's something really good that parents should do that come from other cultures to teach their children like their native language and that sort of thing. You know, like for me as a kid learning Hebrew, I feel like it's beneficial now. Sometimes, not all the time, because there's not many people I interact with. But if I go to Israel, like when you went to the Philippines,
You're good to go.
you can talk shop. So okay,
Yeah.
so you get to the Philippines, a little bit of a culture shock. What stands out the most now?
Living there.
Yeah.
Like, what was the best thing, or worse, or something
Maybe
that molded
both.
you as well?
I love the Philippines because even though I was only there for a year, like that's where my family is from.
Right.
You know, so like the culture, like I love the fact that my parents actually raised me, even though I was in the States, the Filipino way. So when I would go into like my friends' houses, and they had like younger siblings, you know, or even kids of their own, the way that they like would treat the kids was the same way that I was treated. Like I was raised that same exact way.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really
So
hard to
it
do.
didn't really feel different to me.
It was almost like you were prepared for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like like we said, things happen for a reason. Like I remember my mom as a kid, when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me like, you have to learn how to speak the language. Like I will not have it. You have to learn it. And I used to say like, why? And my mom would say like, well, for one reason, if you ever meet a Filipino girl, it'll look good to the parents that you can speak it.
And your wife is Filipino, right?
I like how parents plan you for marriage.
So what? Being that your wife is Filipino, and you both met at an early age in Switzerland, what's her story? How did she end up there?
Well, her mom works for like U.S. mission, like UN,
Okay.
and her dad, same as well. They've always been here. So she was born and raised in Switzerland. My parents, they both worked here. I was born, but I wasn't raised here.
Right.
And her family never left. And I mean, now that I'm in Switzerland, I understand why they never left. And it makes me wonder why my parents left.
Yeah, because you said in the beginning of the podcast that they came here to sort of live out the American dream. But from the conversations you and I have had, Switzerland is flourishing. Like their economy's booming, their society is stable. Like people are prideful and proud of their culture.
Was it different back
Yeah.
when you were a kid, or?
Well, you
was
know
it
what
the
though,
same?
the U.S. was different then though too.
The U.S. was different. The U.S. was different.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, the money that they were making here versus killing themselves
Yeah.
in the States.
Yeah.
Like, working 16-hour shifts and, like, growing up seeing one parent because they had, like, a rotation. My dad worked at night. My mom worked during the day.
Yeah.
The only time I'd see them is the time that I'm, like, leaving for school.
Yeah.
So it was like being out here now. It just makes me wonder, like, why they even left. But I'm not complaining because I grew up in Philly, and that's why I am the way I am now. You know, Philly made me.
What were the biggest differences that you noticed? Not with the Swiss people and Americans, but the Filipinos and Americans. Other than all the family traditions and cultural stuff that your parents ingrained in you, but maybe the things that like you found a little kind of maybe weird or peculiar.
The crazy part was when I got to the Philippines, I realized, and I saw it like quick. You either have it or you don't.
What do you mean
if
by
you
that?
don't, like, you're either well off
money.
or you don't have shit.
Yeah.
Like,
There's
you
a big
literally
divide.
do not have shit.
So would you say that someone, okay, so here, let me just create a scenario. Someone born in the Philippines, wherever, first of all, what part of the country were you in?
I lived in Quezon City. I lived in Manila.
What is it? What city?
Quezon City.
Kenzin? Is it?
Kenzin? Is that what, I think you're saying Kenzin. I don't know.
Kenzin City?
Quezon.
Kalo? Oh, okay.
Quezon.
Quezon.
Yeah.
Quezon City. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's the capital, you said?
Like Manila.
Okay, so
That's
so someone born into that city, right? That doesn't come from money and doesn't have it, as you said, like they weren't born with it. Would you say that nearly impossible for someone in that culture to make their way up the ladder and get to where those people that have it get it. Because like in the U.S., you can come from shit. You can come from nothing. And if you got the hustle and the drive, you can get there. Can you? Go ahead.
I mean, obviously it's been done, but it's not likely.
Yeah.
Like, if you come from, like, where you don't have shit, like, they're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
They're gonna struggle.
Do you think?
And like,
do you think that's because a lack of drive or education, or that's just the way it is? That's just the culture.
Like I know education plays a part in it.
Yeah.
Because some of the kids that I've seen, like when I first got there, I used to see kids like running the streets, and it'd be like a Tuesday morning, and I'd be like, well, what the hell are they doing here? Like, aren't they supposed to be in school?
Right.
And the people will be like, those are the kids that can't afford to go to school. Like, and I'm like, isn't school free? And they're like, yeah, but they can't afford to go to school. Like,
so they have to work
to pay for their books, to pay for their clothes, for whatever. So these kids just run the streets, and like, and it was crazy. Like seeing that, like I was like, oh man, like this is like it's crazy. Like the broke is broke. Yeah. You know, like we used to say when we were kids, like we used to be like, oh, I can't go out, I'm broke.
Yeah, it's totally different.
But at least the lights were on. At least there was some food in the fridge. It might not have been a lot, but it was something.
No, the crazy part is at least we had a house to go to.
Yeah.
At least we had shoes on our feet.
True.
Like, clothes. Like, these kids, it like, being there, like, my first month or so, like, it fucked me up.
Yeah, it really messes with you.
Like, cause I was like, you know what? Like, I'm a piece of shit. Like, I used to take so much for granted.
Yeah.
You know, like, you've known me forever. You know, one of my big things is I used to, like, buy sneakers.
Yeah.
Like, every other day.
Yeah, sneakerhead.
And my problems used to be like, do I pay my rent or do I buy these new sneakers and let my rent be late? These kids, their problem was like, do I have money for food?
Yeah.
Like, that was their problem. And like, here we are, like, bullshit and throwing money away.
Yeah.
So my first few months in the Philippines, like that really did it for me. Because I was just like, man, these kids, they really don't have shit.
So it really taught you to appreciate your childhood?
Yeah, definitely. Like I feel like if I was to go to the Philippines and then come back to Philly, I would have been a completely different person.
Did your parents talk to you a lot about what life was like in the Philippines for them?
They used to threaten me with shit when I was a kid. Like, oh, I'll send you to the Philippines. Those kids don't have this and don't have that. And I used to be like, yeah, whatever, Mom.
Right, because it seems so far away. It's just basically like...
like, now I understood why, like, my mom used to, like, with these giant boxes, she would, like, throw, like, you know, clothes, and she would put sneakers, like my old sneakers that I never wore, you know, or like I wore once.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, what are you doing with that? And my mom would be like, oh, I'm sending it to the Philippines. And I'm like, Mom, I cut grass in those sneakers. Like, what the hell do they want those for?
Yeah.
And I was like,
but in reality, they would treasure them, yeah.
You'll see one day, and man, I saw it last year when I got there.
Did your parents want you to go to the Philippines to see what it was like and to get an idea of what they, what life was like for them before going to Switzerland and the U.S.?
It's when I was a kid, like my parents would be like, "Oh, you can't go to the Philippines. Like you wouldn't last. Like the life that you live here, you'd hate it in the Philippines."
Yeah.
And I didn't understand what they meant. But when I went, like I saw it, I was like, man, if luckily my family was well off, like like they were doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I had to live like so over there, they call it the squatter.
The squatter?
Like, we call it squatter.
Okay.
Like we call ours like the hood, the ghetto.
Oh, okay.
Man, there is no hood or no ghetto close to what they live in. Like they live in the slum.
Can you like paint a picture for us? I've never been to the Philippines. What does it look
So
like?
like where I lived in like I guess like it's kind of like a gated community.
Okay.
Like in the Philippines, they call it. I lived in a subdivision.
Okay.
So like to get into my neighborhood, you had to go through a gate with guards, like armed.
Was there a lot of crime?
And
Is it a high crime rate?
they said there is, but like I mean, I never really saw anything.
Because you were in the gated community.
But in my neighborhood, it was cool. So once you go in, it's like all these big houses, houses being built.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. But on the other side of that gate,
In the
it's
squatters.
like the squatter. Like it's like imagine people like building walls and your roof was like a metal shed.
Yeah.
So if it rained, like you couldn't hear nothing. It just all you heard was the rain banging on the metal.
Yeah.
Like people like
Tin roof, huh?
houses that pretty much this is the picture I'll paint. If it was any of our houses in Philly, if our houses looked like the houses in the Philippines,
You'd be condemned.
you would never tell me like, oh, come over to my house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's hang out in my house. Like we would definitely be ashamed. Like hell no, like Bill's not coming to my house.
Yeah.
Forget that.
Yeah.
But the people in the Philippines, the part that hit me the most was even though they didn't have shit, they were still happy.
Yeah.
Like they were happy. Like if it was like their birthdays, their parents would cook and they're like, "Oh, come to my house." I remember going in the houses
like people that have nothing are still happy.
I think that's all of
this-
Southeast Asia. It's the the celebration of life is not linked to material shit.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
But
Yeah.
why?
In the Philippines,
Like
I
here
don't
you
know.
see someone that's
It's
poor and
just-
they're like
it's just
miserable.
different.
They're like so miserable, and there they have nothing, and yet they find some reason to smile.
That's
reason to be
because
happy.
here the climb of like happiness is success. It's all linked to material shit.
Yeah.
It's all like the better you do, the more stuff you have. Not the more whole you feel, the more stuff you've acquired. And then you use that acquisition of stuff to represent how you feel about your life. Oh, I got a fancy house. I've got a fancy car. I've got a ton of money in the bank. I must be good. I must be all right. No, but that's not what it is. How many rich people do you know are happy and content? I don't know any.
I don't know any rich people.
Yeah, me neither. If I
my
do,
problem.
please, call me because I'd love for you to sponsor the show.
Yeah.
No, but
No,
no.
it's crazy.
I know
my-
what you mean though. In India, I had that same like culture shock of seeing like really poor. There's a big divide between the people that have and the people that don't. And then when you see children, like here in Philly, you'll never see a child begging. Like you might see a man or even a woman sometimes, but never like a child. And you'll see that in India. And I'm guessing that's like
Yeah.
kind of what you went through.
That was one of the things that hit me. I remember I went to a nightclub in the Philippines. I was walking out of the club, at like 4 a.m. And this kid walked up to me at 4 a.m. Had to be like 5 years old, 6 years old, and was carrying their little brother, who had to be like 2,
Yeah, that stabs
1.
in the heart.
And they were like asking me for money, and I looked at them like, yo, it's fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And my friends were like, that's how the kids are here. And that I was like, I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So like, throughout my first few months in the Philippines, like that stuff like just like hit me. Then, so in my neighborhood, I literally have a full court basketball court
Yeah.
outside my door. And Bill knows that I've been playing basketball all my life.
Absolutely. And I don't know if people can tell from the video, but Loe is really tall. You know, he's a big dude. He's 6'4", so he's built for basketball.
And I would play on that court every morning as like my workout.
Yeah.
And I met a group of kids, like a few kids.
Neighborhood kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of them, like most of them actually can really play. They can play. And I remember the thing that I used to like laugh at as a kid, but then it hit me different as I got older. These kids were talented, but would play barefooted.
Okay.
And here I am, Nike shoes, Nike socks, like Nike shorts, got, like the whole get up.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at these kids, and I remember the one kid, I asked him, I said, you got game. I'm like, how come you play barefooted? And he was like, I don't have sneaks. Like, he was a teenager. Like, I could never imagine that. I couldn't, as a kid growing up,
Yeah.
tell me like I don't have sneakers.
You got ragged on as a kid if you had like dogged out kicks.
Yeah.
That's just that's the way it was.
Like, I remember when we were kids, we used to be like, yo, you got bobos on. Like,
I haven't heard that in a long time.
So I remember I asked him, he was a teenager, like he was a big kid. So I was like, yo, what size shoe are you? And the funny thing was, he goes, I'm a 13.
It's your size.
And that's my size.
Yeah.
How do you know his size?
He's 6'4". What do you think he wears? A size 8?
No, but how did you know it's 13 and not like,
That was a
I don't
good
know.
So
You guys
he
share
told
shoes?
me he was a size 13.
Yeah.
And I remember, without not even second guessing, like, I was like, you know what? I took my shoes off.
Wow.
And I was like, here, yo, these are for you. Like, play ball in them.
Wow.
And he was like, no, I can't. He didn't want to take them. And I was like, bro, like, I don't want to sound cocky or nothing, but like, I have way more sneakers inside the house.
Yeah.
Was that something instilled in you from when you were a kid? Like when your mom would send shoes back?
No, like, that was just me. Like, I genuinely felt bad.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was just like a
Like,
natural reaction to help the kid out.
They used to play ball. And then I remember, like, when they were done, they would sit down and like it would be a joke to them. They're like, "Yo, look at how big this blister is."
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what the hell? Like,
it's not a game you guys want to play. Yeah.
well, when the kid said he was a size 13, like, I was like, yo, it's like meant to be. Like, it's meant to be that I give him these like sneakers.
Yeah. And he probably
So I was
treasured
like, you
that
know
pair of
what?
sneakers that you gave
I
him.
was like, here, bro, just like take them. Like, and he wouldn't. And I was like, well, look, I'm gonna leave these shoes on this floor, and I'm gonna walk home
Yeah.
because I live right there.
Yeah. And he took
So
them.
just take it. And he took them.
Mhm.
And he wore that shoe. Like, he legit wore it. But in my neighborhood, I remember there was like two kids that were my size. And the ones that were my size, I gave them sneakers
Yeah.
because that's, I knew that they didn't have it. So I was just like giving stuff away to them because I felt bad. Like, it was kind of like my give back from all the shit that I took for granted.
Yeah. Is that kind of the spark that led you to having an interest in building a sort of like a league or a basketball team?
Well, it's funny that because that when I would play, those kids would be there. They would be like, "Yo, can you show me like stuff that you guys used to do in practices and when you were in the States?"
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing ball since I was in second grade.
Yeah.
So all the drills I used to like show them, and they would do it. These kids were like 15, 16, you know,
Yeah.
and they would say like, "Oh, like look, like, is it okay if I bring my friend because he wants to learn?" And I used to be like, "Okay, well, I'm not really a trainer or a coach, but if you guys want to practice, okay."
So in the beginning, was
So
it just
then,
you kind of teaching them like the ropes and some things that you acquired?
yeah, like,
Okay.
you know, like regular drills that I used to do, and I
Yeah.
still did. You know, they just did it with me. And then it hit me because one day this one kid came up to me and asked me, "How much does he owe me
Oh wow! So they
for
wanted to pay for
for
lessons.
training?" And I said, "You don't owe me shit. Like, who am I? You know, like I'm not a trainer. I'm not a real coach. Like," and they're like, "No, because he's like, I play for a team, and my coach charges every kid 20 pesos, which isn't much. But like we said, if you have nothing,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
that's a lot,
Yeah.
you know." And I used to say, "What? Like, who trains you?" He was like, "Our coach." And I was like, "Who's your coach?" And one of the kids that lived in the neighborhood that became really close to me, he played for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this guy. This guy was a complete opposite of what you think a basketball player would look like.
What do you mean?
This guy was probably like 5'5". He was heavy. He was just like yelling at these kids and charging them money.
Sounds
Oh.
more
And it
like a
kinda pissed
boxing
me off.
coach.
Because you imagine 20 pesos ain't much, you know.
Yeah.
But if you have 18 kids on your team, and each kid is giving you 20 pesos, it adds up if you don't have shit.
Yeah.
Right.
So he was just in it for the money. He wasn't really trying to help his
Pretty
kids.
much. Like, he wasn't, he was just like, "Oh, run back and forth."
Oh wow.
Like,
could do
what
that.
kind of training is that?
Yeah.
And then in games, he would just like yell at them. So the kid that was in my neighborhood, he asked me, he was like, "You know what? The next league, you should coach." And I was like, "It's not really my thing. Like, I'm a ball player, but I'm not a coach, you know." And they were like, "Well, no, because at least we can train with you, and you know, like we would rather pay you." And I said, "Well, you guys aren't paying me. Like, I don't need your money."
Yeah.
So
You were doing it because you wanted to.
yeah, I did
He
it
cared
just
about these
because,
kids.
Yeah.
you know, what else was I doing? You know what I mean? I wasn't doing anything else.
Yeah.
And then a league came around, and like luckily, like this league was just like for the neighborhood, so you didn't really have to put up a lot of money or anything like that. Like the kids didn't really have uniforms, you know, and
Talk about that for a second. You actually, out of your own pocket, covered the expenses and the cost of their.
the first league, I had 8 players, and I was like, oh, it's 8 players. Like, how much could their jerseys be? You know, so I was like, look, I'm gonna order you guys jerseys, and the kids were like, oh, coach, like, we don't have money to pay for a jersey, and I'm like, nah, it's cool. Like, I'll take care of it. Like, don't worry about it. You know, I was like, all I ask is you guys play.
Yeah.
You know? And so those 8 kids in the first league that I put them in went undefeated.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
they won the whole thing.
And this is from your coaching.
No, these kids were talented. They legit had talent. You know, like.
But you influenced them. You helped.
And you encouraged them.
You were part of it.
You brought it out.
It wasn't nothing. It wasn't anything like. I didn't really look at it like that. You know, like.
I'm sure they appreciated everything.
They were like my young bucks. These were like my little kids.
Yeah.
But I was just like showing how to like do certain things.
Without you, they wouldn't probably be able to play, right?
Possible. It's possible.
They also would have been playing under that 5'5" jelly belly that just told them to run back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they won that league. It was just like a little neighborhood. There was like probably like 8 teams, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So now they were like, Coach, there's this big league. And I was like, what league? And they were like, it's like the whole like area. So like all the neighborhoods all around here.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, how many teams? They were like, there's like 35 teams. And I was like, 35 teams. I was like, how much? What's it gonna cost? They were like, it's 4,000 pesos to enter a team. 4,000 pesos is like a little under $100.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, to us.
Right, to us, exactly.
To them,
these teams, they're like, they have to be sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
Like, legit, like, people who had businesses would, like, sponsor these teams.
Would they get something back? Like, would they get, if they sponsor, they get, like, advertisement for their business?
Yeah, like, they were just doing, like, advertisement for their, you know what I mean? Like, it's, like, that's all it was. So I was like, okay, it was 4,000 to get you guys in. And then I was like, who's going to play? And they were like, oh, I'm going to play, of course. And then, like, I'll bring my friend and this and this. I ended up having, like, over 30 kids.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, no, I can't do this. Not this many. And I was like, look, as much as I hate to say it, I'll hold a tryout.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because 30 is a lot.
Yeah, some players are going to get cut.
The best kids, like, I'll pick them.
Yeah.
But that's a good way to ensure that you get the best players, because when you're having tryouts, also it's free.
Yeah.
And it makes it competitive for them too.
And it's all about the skill.
The reason why there were so many players is because I guess like word got around that there's a new guy around that's gonna pay for everything. Like if you play for him, you're legit covered. Like we don't have to pay a coaching fee.
Yeah. So you think some of those kids were taking advantage of that?
No. It's not taking. I don't see it as taking advantage because
they just saw an opportunity.
If I play ball, and you tell me that there's a guy out here that's gonna hold a tryout, and my jersey will be free if I get on the team, I'm gonna try out.
Yeah.
So all these kids came out of nowhere. So I ended up picking 14 kids.
14?
It's about half.
Yeah.
Cut the team
That
in
must
half.
have been really hard to say no to people, like no to young kids who want to play. What did you do to them? Like, did you make a
I mean,
Second
no, like
team.
I still had them
Team
train.
B.
Like I let them train with us,
Okay, but they just wouldn't
but
compete.
like they didn't get a jersey.
Okay.
I remember when the jersey finally came. Like when I picked my team, I was like, all right, let's go see how much this jersey is gonna cost. The jersey cost me like I think it was like roughly 13 or 14,000 pesos, which
How much
to
is
us
it?
still
It's like what,
is
$50?
like $200. It's like 200.
200
200.
per jersey?
$200. No, for everything.
Oh, I was gonna say, whoa, that's crazy.
It
All
was,
right.
it was like $200 for all the jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not rich, so 200 is still 200.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So
it must
I was
be
like, you
a
know
lot to
what?
the kids.
Yeah, but you've spent
So these
200 on a
kids,
pair of shoes. So now you spend 200 on these
yeah,
jerseys, and
And you
you
affect
make
yeah,
these
team
kids
that's what
dead.
I'm saying.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, like,
You really affect their
like
lives. You affect their
I
families.
spent way more than 200 on shoes.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Let me fuck it. I was like, I'll do it. Go ahead. Print the jerseys. I'll have it made. Had it made. Out of all the 30 teams that played, my team lost one game the
Wow.
whole season.
Whoa.
Not
That's
bad.
They
amazing.
won the championship. Like, and it was funny because I used to work for a store in South Street called Suplex.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Suplex Philly.
I used to, yeah, shout out to that's my family. So I called them and I said, "Yo, is it cool if I use your name for my jerseys?" They said, "Go ahead. You know, like we'll put you on our Instagrams and you know all that."
I'm surprised they didn't
Cool.
cover it.
Well, no, it was cool. It was alright because those guys are like super busy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I just had to handle it like right then on the spot.
Yeah.
It's also a store here in Philly, right? It's a local
Yeah.
store.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I put the name Suplex, and it's the second league that these kids won. This past one, the picture that you used, that was the latest one that they won.
Oh, okay. So
30
they
teams,
two-time champions.
yeah,
I
2
just
times
feel
champ.
so
That's
proud.
awesome, man.
And
You still keep in touch
Congratulations.
with them now that you're in Switzerland? Or are you still in touch with the
every
team?
day, these kids still talk to me. Like we have they have like a group chat. So like I still get messages from all of them.
So who did you leave in charge? Like who's coaching them now?
I left it with like one of my boys, but I mean, they just
Someone
it's
you
like, you know,
felt
repetition.
comfortable passing the torch to.
yeah.
Got you.
I mean, the kids, they know what they have to do. Like the drills, it's like we did it every day.
Yeah.
So like, you know, that's something that these kids will never forget. Like you can't forget this drill. So they just constantly do it, and that's what they do. So for me, that I guess like it made me happy because I'm like these kids
Yeah,
always
you touch
expect
them.
that they have to pay for something, and like my whole deal was as long as you played and you know you were a good kid, like yeah, I'll coach you.
I'm just gonna
That's
pull up
wonderful.
on the screen here really
You're
quick.
gonna cover his face.
Yeah, I'm gonna cover your face just for a second on the
Yeah.
screen, just so I can show the team because we've been talking about them a bit.
That's
I don't know
amazing.
if you can see the team up there. See
Yeah.
everybody.
Wow.
There's Loe in the middle,
Yeah,
and then the guy in the bottom row in the red shirt, far left, is that who's currently coaching the team now?
no, those are all players.
What about the
No,
girl?
other
Girl's not a
players.
player?
And then you got a girl in there too. What's she doing?
No, that like it's funny because in the Philippines, like they always have these like kind of like these like little beauty contests.
Okay.
Like even like a team should be represented by a female. Like it was like
She's
they
like a
called it the
mascot?
muse,
Amuse. Okay.
and she was like our muse. So she was always at the games.
She was at all of the games.
She was at every game.
Wow.
And then this guy here,
Dedicated.
is this your friend that came out to visit?
And that's my boy from Philly. He'll be playing professional
In the
this
Philippines?
December in the Philippines.
You want to shout him out?
That's my man, Chris. Chris Rivera.
All right, Chris.
So he'll be there. We were playing together in the Philippines. But he just went back home, back to Philly, and he'll be back there in December.
All right. I'm trying to minimize the screen here. I can't really see what the hell's going on. All right, let me pull you back up. Where are you at? There you are. I have you. I lost you.
Okay. Are you there?
Yeah, there he is. I got him. He's back up. All right, we're good. All right, that's awesome, man. Like that's really amazing. I mean, think about that. Like flash back a year before you even stepped foot in the Philippines.
You probably never even thought you were going to do something like this.
Yeah, did you ever think you would do anything like that?
No.
Had that even
Flashback 1 year before I went to the Philippines. That was like all the drama. Because that's when the president popped up and made my situation
Harder.
like
yeah.
crazy.
You know,
mine.
let's talk about that for a minute. We're a little tight on time.
Yeah.
We're a little tight on time. We're way over. But really quick before we go, I think it would be really cool to get your insight because you are without a doubt an American. You know, America's your country. Paperwork or not, that's a bunch of bullshit. You're as American as apple pie, and you're as American as I
I mean,
am.
now they made it like major, like that's like, and I mean I understand, I kind of understand because people are like, oh, like if you don't have like the proper paperwork, then you know whatever the hell people are saying.
Yeah.
But you know what? At the age of 4, that wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't on me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had to live that life. Like, in the States.
Yeah.
Always had to worry, you know, like, it sucked when people would be like, oh, I'm going here. And I'm like, oh, well, I can't go there.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like you feel like you're like that FOMO thing you were talking about, the fear of missing out thing. And you couldn't even consider it because of your situation. You couldn't really share the details of your situation either.
I still remember, like, my parents used to tell me when we drove to Vegas.
Yeah.
My parents used to be like, are you fucking crazy? Like, do you know what will happen if you get caught? But I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm 22 years old. Like, who gives a fuck? Like,
Yeah, at this point.
So you lived your whole life kind of worried about that,
It's like living your whole life in fear, kind of, man.
yeah.
feeling like you're illegal.
But then it got really bad. It got really bad. Well, when Obama was the president, he had something called the Dreamers Act or something like that.
Yeah.
It was kids who were brought in by their parents and the paperwork never got fixed, that they could do something. That would have taken me forever.
Mm-hmm.
It would have taken forever. And people used to be like, oh, well, you know, you could just marry somebody and then you'll be good. But you know what? Then I would be the person that all these people are talking about now.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like, I wasn't going to marry somebody just to marry somebody, to be there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I married my best friend, even though she was from here, which made my life completely, like both of our lives, hard.
Yeah.
But we rocked out, and, you know, this is what we did. And for 10 years, it was just her traveling to Philly, come back here. Then we got married. Then the paperwork for all that was a hassle. The biggest hassle. Like, just to be able to leave. And then when I finally got it, I remember I had family that were like, "Are you worried that like if you leave, you might not be able to come back?"
So how do you feel about that now?
It was a shot in the dark. Like, I took a shot in the dark.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
And luckily, it worked out.
Yeah. Well, God bless you, man, and your wife.
Because, I mean, the Philippines loved it. Because they're crazy, but it was cool.
Yeah. There's people that haven't been through half of the shit that you've been through that can't find happiness. And the fact that you've been through everything that you've been through, trials and tribulations with family and friends and life and all the hardships, and then rekindling sort of like a lost love from childhood, and then that all coming full circle. It's kind of a beautiful fairy tale love story.
It really is.
In the most unorthodox way you can tell it, it still is.
Yeah, like the best feeling that I had was when I left the Philippines and I landed here in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And I had to walk through customs. And the guy was just like, "Go, you're good."
That anxiety kind of finally settled. Is that what you're saying?
Like, like people, like the people in the U.S. when they're saying like, "Oh, the people that don't have their paperwork correct, like they should get it done right," and this and this. Me walking into Switzerland, everything was done right. At that moment, when I walked in, I was good.
Nice.
Like, no more worries. Like, no more like oh my God, like if I get caught, or I can't get into any trouble or anything like that. Like, everything's done.
Such a relief.
And in this country now, like, I don't remember much, but I mean, from what I see now, I can see why this is a neutral country.
Yeah.
And I can see why, like, these people are completely different than back home.
Yeah.
And like I even told you, like the people that that I've met here and like friends that I have here now, when I tell them about stuff in Philly, because they always ask about the States, they think I live in a movie. Like, I thought it was a movie. Because they used to say like, "Oh, I watched this on Netflix. Is this really how it is?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably really a fucking watered down version of the way it really is too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me to be here now, I'm good.
Well, God bless you, Loe. God bless your story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for hanging in there. I know it's late on your side of the world,
but
I felt like people really needed to hear your story. And I also learned things about you that I didn't know. So I appreciate that as well. Yeah. And I just want to thank you so much again for coming on and being part of this show.
Of course. Now you guys got to come to Switzerland.
That's next.
Yes.
That's next. We just got to get our passports together, and then we'll make that happen. All right, my man.
Exactly.
All right.
All right, bro.
So get some sleep. Catch up on that Netflix. Check out that Hyperdrive series. I think you'll really like it. And
for sure.
All right, man. And for everyone tuning in right now and who will be watching the show later, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, comment, and always thank you again for watching another episode of The Human Collective. This has been episode 10. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Take care.
Good night.
Wish you guys the best.
Thank you, Loe. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
We're still live.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. We're still live.